Morning YouTube, William here. I'm going to go over a couple of things today about effectively heating Charlie's large shop. We do not have insulation in this building, and we're kind of tired of freezing to death, and we also don't want to just put in a large scale heating system just to have it in the way, hanging below the rafters, and also the building isn't insulated. So this is kind of a temporary measure, but it seems to be working very, very well. Here we have our propane pig, we call it. This is a portable propane tank we use in the field to fill up our propane tractors. It has the large liquid fill right here, hooks right onto most propane tanks. In fact, this one will hook right here. This is where we fill this unit. Here we have our multi-valve, which, handily enough, has a left-hand thread that would go in the old-style grill bottles or a 100-pound bottle. That goes to 3/8 NPT. And I have a double female 3/8 NPT. National pipe thread, and here we have 3/8 NPT coming into our feed hose right here. This is all 3/8 hose throughout this entire video. We jumped through the wall here. This will change slightly, probably make a coupler system, and then we can still open our slider door both directions. Okay, here we are behind Charlie's 300 combine project. He is actually doing a video simultaneously today. Here we are, we follow our line inside. Again, this is set up temporarily. I have this zip tied to the front of our pallet racking. In a perfect world, it would be back on that back wall, but I don't fancy the idea of moving a couple thousand screens. So we follow this over here, right here. We jump down to a three-way CO2 manifold right here. This has 5/16 barb fittings right here. So what we did with this was squish down our 3/8 inside diameter hose on that, and then you can pick and choose what heat system you want to run. Something I was thoroughly impressed with, this unit, fairly cheap on Amazon. I went with the 3-bank. They do have a 4-bank right away, and probably all the way up to 6 or 8. These units with these little ball valves in them actually do have a check valve. So if I shut that off, there is no fuel that backs up into the system. It's pretty impressive for the cheapness of the product. Okay, looking now at the building, you guys have seen this. It was in the cheap and effective shop lighting video. This building right here is 60 feet wide by 104 deep, and I believe it is 18 feet from the bottom of that rafter to the concrete right there. Don't quote me on that, but I believe it's 18 feet. Here you can see we have our lines running right out of the 3-bank. We just kind of stuffed the extra underneath. That makes these units highly modular. You really want to go with a radiant heater. We have 3 of them going here. Each one of these is 125,000 BTU, and the beauty of the radiant heat is that it's quiet, very, very quiet. This particular unit is 125,000 BTU. This is Mr. Heater brand. This is one of our favorites right here. They just seem to, I think it might be psychological, but they seem to produce more heat than the 2 dyna-glows that I have over there we will go over in a moment. This unit also has a mercury switch, which I like because if you knock it over, it'll shut off, or if you bump it, it will shut off. So now, walking over, here we have the dyna-glow. This again is a radiant heater. It just doesn't seem quite as bright, but there is a lot more surface area on the stainless steel screen, so they really can't sell you a heater that isn't what they say it is. It says it's 125,000 BTU, but I don't know that it is. It just seems to be a little weaker, but I do like these because you can move them around. So it is a catch-22. Here we have the original factory regulator with all the safety instructions installed, but instead of using this on a 100-pound bottle, which is what they recommend, I plugged in our 3/8 NPT line right into the regulator so that we're still running it the exact same way that they did from the factory. Keeps everything safe, secure. Here we have the other unit over here, just kind of churning away. The camera doesn't really do it justice. It looks like it's about half out, but I assure you it is bright red and burning quite nicely. And we'll move over to the thermometer in just a moment. The thing I do not like about these heaters, this one or the Mr. heater, whichever one, pick your poison. I do really like the dyna-glow. They seem very simple, whereas eventually the Mr. heater we have had problems with in the past, with the mercury switches and thermal couplers and things going bad. These just seem to be a valve only. I don't think they have a thermal coupler, which is nice for the simplistic side of things. But if you run this heater all day on a 100-pound bottle, the unit will start out very strong at 125,000 BTU with no problem, and you think it's great. But then after about 2 hours of running, or an hour or so, the surface area in the 100-pound bottle is not large enough to change the liquid propane to vapor propane, which is what all of these heaters run on. None of these heaters run on liquid propane. So that is what made the Blue Pig outside, our portable transfer tank for our propane, the optimum choice, because the tank is laying on its side, laying horizontally, and we get a ridiculous amount of surface area. Okay, we're over here on the far side of the dozer now. Right over there is our 3-way manifold, and you can see we do have the cords to contend with, so nothing's quite perfect. Looking here at our thermometer, you can see that we are just under 50 degrees. And this unit is creeping up slowly. We just fired up the heaters probably 30 minutes ago or so, and my phone is saying that the outside temperature is 35 degrees. So we are getting quite a nice substantial increase in heat in here right away. And I really love the radiant heat versus the standard torpedo heaters that are constantly blazing in your ears 24/7. Here we are up in the parts loft, as you can see. Our game plan for Charlie's shop is to build a wall up to this bottom of this truss right here, and then we plan to basically wall off this quadrant of his building, which will be just a little under half. I believe this truss right here would be half of the building, cut in half, and then we plan to do some other things to try and make some sliding doors or something to that effect, so that we can be more efficient and heat less of the shop. And then, of course, in an optimum world, you would have all of this insulated and turnkey, but money is not always endless. I would recommend to anyone that wants to buy these heaters to buy them mid-summer or early fall, because it is very hard to get a hold of the companies and get them ordered when it's November and October. For instance, that is the last Mr. heater I could find, and I believe I found that on summitracing.com. I just went to Google Shopping. They had the best price. I called them and they said that unit will ship directly from the manufacturer, and they only have one left, and they won't have any more in stock until June, which is ridiculous because, you know, people need heaters in the wintertime, not in the summertime. I'm going to quickly look at all of the leftover fittings that I have from this project. I have a couple spare barb fittings and a couple of hose clamps extra. This piece right here is what starts the process on the large propane tank outside. All of these heaters come with a very small orifice right there, as you can see, and on the inside as well. I went to the propane regulator aisle in my local Rural King, and I found this unit right here. This was for varying the pressure on a cooktop for camping. And what I liked about this unit is it had the absolute largest orifice for my left-hand thread that I needed. Now, you probably could drill this, but that was not something I wanted to do, so I purchased this propane regulator, a variable regulator. You just close and open this valve as needed. And it had a very large orifice in the left-hand thread O-ring sealed portion. I'd like to thank everyone for watching. This is just a quick look at what worked for me. Once again, do this at your own risk. I don't claim to be an expert, but what I can say is I'm warm right now. And we've had this pumping away on a nice like 10 or 11 degree day, and it brought the temperature right up. Again, nothing is perfect. It's kind of annoying to have to worry about these hoses when you're wanting to run equipment around, but if you're running equipment around, the doors are open anyway, so it would be pointless to be running your heaters. So they very simply scoot up against here, and then in the summertime, we just disconnect them from this. Here is the original setup that we bought. This is the exact same Mr. Heater, 125,000 BTU radiant heater. You can see this one's got quite a bit of age on it. All of the paint is pretty well cooked off. And the unit, very shortly after we got it, the clicker stopped working, and that's kind of frustrating. Lighting them is kind of a little bit of a trick, but once you learn it, you're good to go. I always use the little lighting hole right here to light the unit. So that's just something to keep in mind. You know, stuff's gonna break down eventually. We've had this, I think, 4 to 5 years with no issues. Works every winter. You just get it out of the shed and go back to work with it. And here is the regulator, and here's the original setup here. Has that left-hand thread, goes right into a 100-pound bottle. These heaters are recommended to only work with a 100-pound bottle. However, they will run on a larger than a grill bottle. You can see that one is quite a bit larger, but this is the original setup. Just wanted to show it to you real quickly. I am by no means an expert at heating. My building has plenty of ventilation. The ridge cap is vented. The door is always cracked over there. This is what works for me. I'm vigilant. Whenever we leave to go to town or a parts run or lunch, we shut everything down so we don't have these heaters running continually. And then within 30 or 40 minutes, they bring this shop up to a bearable temperature so you can keep working on your projects. I'd like to thank everyone for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.